We're live.
Yes, we are live, and what a gift. I'm so grateful to be live and actually having in this recorded so that people can watch and be a part of this
Me
because of
too.
the fact that I think that you, Regan, and I help so many people and navigate the waters. And so I know for both of us, we have had to walk into this moment of what this conversation's about, which I was making a post last night on my inspirational quotes that I do about faith, hope, and belief. And I know for me that going through a lot of that stuff, me being a medium, intuitive person that, through my life, I haven't been as intuitive as I am today. I always was actually, but yet how I believed in it
Yeah.
wasn't. And so there's that evolution. And then, this mediumship, I've always been bothered by spirits. I've always had this interaction with spirits, but and then past lives always been kind of dancing with me. So that belief and the the faith, and then the hope that things are going to happen. I know for me going through all the stuff of my parents passing and all that kind of stuff, it really worked on that. So I'm Natasha Venter. I enjoy helping people go through it, and I'm a life coach, personal awareness, because I bring awarenesses to a lot of different things. And this is Regan Forston, and I'm going to let him introduce himself.
All right. Hi. Well, welcome to the show today. Whether it's now you're seeing it or sometime in the future. And excuse me. My name's Regan Forston, and I have my website on there because that's the most important thing. I think can't get it all in there. Actually, you did, Natasha. Maybe I should just put Regan, see if it fits on there. Anyway, uh, I I'm a facilitator with the Newton Institute, and what we've been doing for 40 years now is with this process we've discovered we help people get in a deep state of trance, which most people can do easier than anybody thinks. And in that state, you become like Natasha a little bit, the medium, as you actually get to interact with your guides. You can visit people in the afterlife that have passed on. There's a council over there of wise, like life coaches that will answer any questions about your life. It's really, I mean, if you're just hearing this for the first time, that may sound totally crazy, but believe me, it's as real as anything. And it's just, they're there on the other side to communicate through Natasha or myself, there to help you through the difficulties. It's like maybe you've reached a state in your unfoldment that, you've earned, the fact of having some, of the coaches from the other side and here closer to you to help you get through this difficult situation. Anyway, Natasha, I thought we talked today because about belief, faith, and hope. And we're in a situation unlike what most of you looking at this, unless you're our age, or I should say my age. Natasha's a lot younger than I am. Had my 72nd birthday yesterday. So, I was in the Vietnam era. There was a lot of craziness going on, war, and, through the civil rights and all that, which was really amazing. But for you younger than, say, 30 or younger than 40, you've not had this kind of turmoil in the world as we have right at the very moment. So it can be very scary, if I'm sure you younger people, as I say, younger, say even 50 or under, you've seen.
Because I know for me, being at the age that I am, I was on the cusp of coming out of, because I was born in 66. So I was on the cusp of coming out of the civil into the
Vietnam, right? There was the civil unrest and then Vietnam, and
through the early 70s there.
Yeah, I lost
late
some of my
60s.
friends from over there, and the band that I had, our lead singer came back crazy, and the drummer came back, and he's managed through, but he's had a difficult time. And I can't help but feel for those young soldiers on both sides that are happen to be involved in this craziness over there. It's going to be a lot of therapy they're going to need. It's just crazy what hatred and war does for you, and killing and things, So a lot of us watching it, right, on the TV and things like that, has made a lot of people more aware of what's going on.
Yeah, but we have no perspective of hearing and feeling that fear, through 24 hours a day, 360 minutes,
Yeah.
and you don't know when it's going to end. And so there's not there's so many things that we know that are going to come to an end, and you don't know when that's going to come to an end, and you're fighting for your life.
Yeah. In our modern era, the only thing that maybe the younger people can relate to is 9/11. When all of a sudden, we had planes, enemy planes hit the Twin Towers, and that was a wake up call for a lot of people about, what's really going on in the world,
Mhm.
you know,
And
but
yet, I know that there's a lot of people in the Americas here that, they do live in a war zone. They go outside of their home and there's, gang wars going
right.
on
True. That's
and
true.
that kind of thing. And so I don't want to belittle that,
Yeah. Oh
but
gosh.
as a country,
Yeah.
we've always felt safer. We don't have to worry about the airplanes coming over us
Hmm.
and bombing us. And I know that that's a structure. And I know that for me, that in a lot of my sessions that I've been talking about, that, a lot of people, we haven't had this many people passing away either. It's been, we really, since the Western days, you know, the early, 1900s, when we started getting the motorized vehicles and that kind of thing, that the death rate actually slowed down in the Americas, where we didn't have to worry about, having birthing a child and knowing if they were going to become an adult. And
Yeah.
then at the same time, when they become an adult, we didn't know where they were if they passed away because they rode off on a horse, and we didn't really know what happened to them in a way.
Yeah.
Even if we got letters, still that letter was 6 months behind.
Yeah.
And so really, this is the first time in our lives in maybe 100 years that we've actually had this kind of moment of people passing. And I don't want to call it a death rate, but it
Yeah.
is up there because of COVID, because of young ones deciding they don't want to be here and that kind of thing. And that's why I felt like we could talk about the faith and the hope, because I don't want to start this conversation to be off negative, even though we put a pretense
Right.
of that kind of conversation. And I was a little squirrel moment here. Did you realize we're wearing the same color?
Yeah.
And we're in two different states.
Hey,
We
so,
didn't even talk about this. We basically texted and emailed about today, so we
yeah.
don't even. So okay, that was a
Well, maybe
squirrel
the
moment.
blue
I
represents.
apologize. That's me. I squirrel a lot in my thinking,
Yeah.
even though I'm right here. It's one of those things though that unless you know where your basis is, and that's the thing, is a lot of people when they go into that moment of that negativity, job change, which we didn't plan, someone passing, which we didn't plan,
No.
all these things that we didn't plan. And do we continue with hope and faith?
Yeah.
Do we? And 98%, and this is just an observation of me, no judgment, we lose faith and hope. And I know that many of us, how can we keep that hope and faith? And I can tell you, though, that for me, I've practiced enough going through those moments
Yeah.
that actually, and I think it's partly what my dad taught me. He taught me, I was lucky. I had a safe home. I wasn't safe outside my home. I was safe in my home. And my father would walk around saying, "Get excited. Life is worthy. You know, you believe in yourself." And I know that part of the time he was probably now observing as an adult, he was probably walking around with one of those negative mind moments. And this is the way that he worked his way out of it,
Yeah.
because he was so dyslexic that he didn't graduate from high school, and he got his own GED and put himself through school, and went to chiropractic school, even though he was so dyslexic that he couldn't hear vowels. And so he struggled through a lot of those negative moments, and I did too, in a way, but
Yeah.
not as dyslexic as him, but
It,
yet
it,
still pretty dyslexic.
I
That
know you're dyslexic too, as you've talked about it many times, but is that hereditary? Or
In my observation, it can be. It can be. And it usually goes down now. Like I'm more dyslexic than my children.
oh, they have your children are a little dyslexic also?
Yeah, and they like my one of my kids can read. She'll read a book, from front to back within, 100 pages is like blinking. It's like I can be shopping in the bookstore and she's done with the book. But yet my first child, he had a hard time reading, but he was so good at math that the his teacher in 4th grade noticed that and had him do math problems, story problems to learn to read.
Really?
Yeah, because his brain would think about reading or math instead of reading, and so she came in the back door.
Huh.
And so with that it is, you know, but my child struggled with other symptoms. My younger one, she struggled with other symptoms that were dyslexic, but not necessarily reading. It was comprehension, being able to put thoughts to paper. A lot of that kind of scenario. And when we're working with things that we have physically, mentally, and other, that a lot of times we struggle with that faith and hope and belief that we can be who we want to be.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think many people, including myself, know. We know what dyslexia is, where you see letters switched or different things, and it makes it hard to read and everything. But we don't know, and we've not, you know, been in around somebody that way to really realize just the challenges, how the challenges can be. Like the movie that got the Academy Award this year, the Coda,
Mm,
about the deaf family, the husband, wife, and the brother, all deaf, and the daughter was the only one that was hearing, and it was this, craziness she had to go through to communicate for her family with the hearing world,
mhm.
and it's just so much responsibility and everything she has, and that was the first time I really got an idea of what it must be like to be deaf,
Yeah.
because you look at the person, they look just fine. Looks like you just think everything's got to be fine, but it's crazy. So in our lives, with this hope and despair, it's a lot of things sometimes. Not just wars and COVID and everything, but it could be everyday life sometimes, where these especially young adults, are committing suicide at an accelerated rate. It's just the world's just too crazy for them, or too wild, or they
Mhm.
can't keep up, or things are so expensive they don't feel that they can even have a life where they can have a home and a family and all that, because they can't afford anything. Uh,
Exactly, exactly. I know I was having a conversation with one of the kindergartners that I work with. And, there was someone, that's my magazine. I want it in my book box. Well, sometimes he kind of says that because he wants it. But I said, let this other student take care of it or have it for a little bit and trust that it'll come back. I can't trust that. I don't know. I can't trust that. I don't know if she's going to do it. And it's like that. And it really hit me. Trust.
Trust.
How many people in this world don't know how to trust the next moment?
You
And that
Yeah.
is part of the faith, belief, and willingness to navigate in our future. And I know this was just a kindergartner, but it was so primal what he was saying. I don't know if I can trust,
hmm That's
you
the way I
know?
feel. That's the way I feel about the government a lot of times now. Because I grew up in an era where we were programmed to just trust the government. Everything, the justice system, the government, that everything, they're always in high integrity and going to tell us the truth and everything. And little by little by little, as you grow up and you realize, you basically have to discern, any kind of information you get from anybody nowadays. Is that true or not?
Mhm.
I still kind of think we're a little less dysfunctional than maybe what it looks like some other countries, because I lived in Mexico for a while and I watched firsthand as um, the policemen in my neighborhood were just the normal guys that lived there. They didn't make very much to be a policeman. So what they would do, they want each of the stores in this town had to pay them every month to watch out for their stuff. You know, and it was just a way of life. The store was just paid the policemen because they know they didn't make much. And the police would say, well, we're going to try to keep the cartel out of here, or we'll watch your store so no one steals stuff and everything. And they were just holding everybody up. And it was just what everybody did,
Mm-hmm.
when you get stopped for tickets, everybody down there, where I was, the Americans, especially, or foreigners, they keep a $20 or $30 in their glove box because they know they're going to get stopped on a bogus ticket or something, and they demand payment right there to the officer, and they would say, just a way of life down here, they'll just stop you for no reason and tell you something and say, give me $20, $30, And I thought, well, it's not that bad up here. Then I met a retired sheriff who was retired down there, and he was telling me, like in Mariposa County, he was the sheriff or something there, and he was just talking about how a lot of the police up there, the planes would fly in with dope and stuff, and they'd be there to protect them and take some money. And I went, oh my God, it's just everywhere. So
It is everywhere. And that's the thing that when we feel like it's everywhere, how can we have faith
yeah,
that life is going to be better? And how can we have hope that life is going to be better? And, that's where I really come back down to my personal walk. My personal walk. I
yeah,
can't get into the politics of what is government doing. I know it affects me. I can't get into the politics of what so and so is doing. It may affect me, but in every moment that I'm walking, I really want to leave wherever I'm at better than I found it.
yeah,
And sometimes when I'm tired at the end of the day, I'm laying on the couch and I tell my husband, well, what's for dinner? you
yeah,
know, because I'm done. But yet at the same time, though, I try to have that conversation with kindness and love so I can leave it better than I found it, you
yeah,
know? And that's the thing is that we're going through this moment, and we have to have destruction in order to have creation. Shiva in the Hindu religion, it's about destruction to creation.
yeah,
And I just ask for grace and ease during the destruction moment and the rebuilding moment, because sometimes the rebuilding moment is the key moments.
yeah,
And that's where faith and hope happen. Coming from, owning this house, my mom bought half this house with us because she had Lou Gehrig's disease, and we were trying to find a house that we can afford, and she couldn't afford a house and we couldn't afford a house, but we needed a house to handle her Lou Gehrig's and me having two children, because we had to move out of our family home for my mom because there wasn't enough room, because we had two children and there
yeah,
wasn't enough room for her wheelchair. So we had to get a home that was bigger. And so we did that, but it came down to where there was a moment where we weren't going to get this house. And I had to put total faith and hope and surrender into saying to the universe, okay, I need to know by 4:00 because it was down to 4:00.
well,
I'm at 4:00.
mhm,
Before 4:00, because the deadline's 4:00. I need to know if I get this house. I
yeah,
need to know. It feels right. I knew the minute that I drove down that driveway, this was our house. I knew it. I knew it was our house. And yet at the same time, I had to put out faith and hope. Well, it ended up, we got a phone call at 3:45 saying that the guy who was ahead of my mom's Social Security disability in payments, he was in a car accident. He came in and did two accounts. My mom was one, and that $500 a month is what threw us over so we can get this house.
wow, yeah,
And it was the dark 30, but I had to have faith and hope. I had all my ducks in a row so that if that moment happened, then the realtor and the everything would know. And it turned out at 3:45 we got the phone call. You got the house.
yeah. But that was a joyful moment, wasn't it?
Oh my God. It
Oh,
was like, holy fuck, don't do that to me again. Sorry for swearing, but it was
yeah,
that kind of a moment. Don't do
yeah,
that to me again. But at the same time, I can tell you that there was other moments in my life where it was dark 30 and life happened. And I can tell you that there's a couple stories you've even shared on this show. And I
Mhm.
know there's many more in your life, young life that ended up happening to the greater
Yeah.
because of having that moment of faith and hope.
Yeah. Um, uh, it's wonderful in life when you can have a relationship with someone that you have total trust in. If they've
Mhm.
proven themselves, that you can trust that person, and it's like a night and day difference of a type of relationship. When you know that that person's honest, has integrity, uh, and I've only like I have that with Patty, which is wonderful. We just totally trust each other and love each other, and it's such a nice, kind of feeling, because I think as human beings, we need it. We have like a quotient or something we need to feel that there's someone we can count on,
Mhm.
someone that we can trust. And luckily for a lot of people, they have at least one person, that they can count on. Some people they can partially count on, others they just say, oh, I can't, like sometimes it could be as simple as you have friends and they'll say, oh, I'll be over in 10 minutes, see you. And then they don't even show up. They go,
Mhm.
oh, yeah, I got sidetracked, blah, 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 and they do that a half a dozen times. So the next time they say they're going to be over in 10 minutes, you just go about doing your regular thing. And if they show up, fine. If they don't, you don't even give it a consideration because you can't trust that person.
Yeah.
And the one thing that I think both of us have found out that they from the angels from the other side and the guides that my clients and everything talk to is how important uh, you know when you say you're going to do something, how important it is to do it.
Mhm.
How important it is because you create all kinds of waves of dysfunction and that when you're out of integrity. So
Yes.
your word should be impeccable, in what you do, and that itself is a learning experience. We could have a whole session on this sometimes about keeping your word and how
Uh-huh.
important it is, that way.
Because
So
I know that for me, that there's been times in my life that I haven't been able to keep my word, but I tried to let the people know around me that it would a ripple effect,
yeah,
and I'm hoping that it caused less of a ripple effect,
yeah,
that I couldn't keep my word, and even my kids being a parent,
yeah,
that when I couldn't keep my word, I was honest. I'm sorry, life happened. I didn't mean to do that. It was not my intention. My life went out from underneath me and I couldn't do it. And I apologize. And then I would try to better next time something came like that around, you
hmm
know, try to do better
we
with
we
communication.
want to trust our children, but when they lie to us and finagle and all that kind of thing, pretty soon, and you try to teach them that, they'll say something and you go, I'm sorry, I got to have some proof here. Like you say, I gave you $20 to go to the store and something cost something. It'll get to where I need to see the receipt. When you
Mhm.
know that before they've kept an extra $5 or $10 or told you is one thing or the other. And you got to teach them that they got to be honest and honesty, trustworthy, integrity. I wasn't always as I would give myself a pretty good grade for honesty in that now, but there's still times when I'm challenged a little bit, like someone gives you too much change at the store or something, and you go, "Oh, must just be a gift from God," You say, wait a minute, that could be taking someone's lunch money away or something. And so you, you have to. But I know I tell you one thing that when you feel yourself overcoming that temptation to not be in integrity, and you overcome it, and you are in integrity, there's something wonderful that happens inside yourself.
Mhm.
Like I don't know, you just feel good about the day, about life and everything. So we're constantly, no matter how spiritual people are, there's daily, things that happen that we're tested for honesty and integrity.
Exactly, exactly. And I know we have a couple people watching here. So, and if you're watching on Twitter, for some reason I don't get comments. So if you are watching on Twitter, can you go to my YouTube page, Natasha Venter, Angelic Clarifications, and oh, Facebook. I'm on Facebook, Natasha Venter, Angelic Clarifications. If you want to make some comments about this, but this is a conversation. If somebody would like to talk about times when, they were struggling with faith and hope and how they persevered through that. Because that's one thing that sometimes when I'm going around and there's something that's about to happen, and I just start saying the mantra, I trust, I trust, I trust, I trust, I trust, I
Yeah.
trust, I trust, I trust, I trust, I trust, I really trust. I'm really trusting right now. Come on, I'm really trusting.
Yeah.
And I have to wait for the universe's timing in
Yeah.
this.
Well, and one thing that'll happen as people progress spiritually, and as you acknowledge that you do have guides on the other side, which everybody we found out, these we're up to about 70,000 now, I think, of clients that we've seen, and people have actually gone to heaven and back, or the afterlife and back, whatever you want to call it. Um, and uh, when your intuition increases because of this connection with the other side, you'll get some kind of sign or something. You go, oh gosh, yeah, okay, I am in the right direction. But then you still got to do that faith and trust that your intuition or what you believe they're guiding you to do is correct. you know
Mhm.
and then it's beautiful when you just trust, and then it happens. And
It
then you
does.
feel good because that you got the intuition, you got the signs that says you should be making this decision, you should be going here. And when you finally get there and you go, oh, so glad that I trusted, and I just did it, that
Mhm.
way. And that's done through God sightings, and which the angels, the guys on the other side, are more than happy to give you. Some people would think, oh, it's just a coincidence, it's just something, but it happens in such a way that that they're talking to you,
Mhm.
and that they're just saying everything's okay, just keep going now, you're doing good, come on,
Yep.
come on,
Well,
that way.
that's one thing that I noticed when I was taking care of my mom with Lou Gehrig's disease, that I had basically, when she stopped walking, 6 months into her diagnosis, I had a 6-month-old. So with that there was this dance of, as my child was maneuvering and getting more able to maneuver and eat, she was becoming less able to maneuver and eat. It was weird how it was kind of crossing over. And as she started really running across the room, my mom was bedridden. It was a weird scenario. But I know for me that, and this is one thing that I've noticed and observed, that when we're in a situation, many a times, it's not paperwork that we'll go through. It's not all this. It's the people that come into our life that are the amazing thing, that bring that part of belief that somebody is looking out for us.
Yeah.
Because I know for me that at the times when I was going where, okay, I can't take care of my mom by myself here, I need good people, and here comes a caretaker
Yeah.
that was just miraculous. At that moment in her life, she just stepped up and was able to step up. I haven't seen her since then, and she lives in the area. But it's just one
Okay.
of those things that, I was really close with her. And then, you know, and I know for you, like the time that you talked about, you were coming across the pass and your
Where?
transmission, you're coming across the pass and your transmission went out or something like that in
Oh
your
yeah,
van.
I had to, yeah, that whole trip, it was like 5 or 6 times with car trouble, and I had to trust that it was gonna be okay, and it got to be it was one of the most uplifting experience I've ever had, having all that stuff break on the car, and then instantly somebody was there to help me, out in the middle of nowhere, instantly someone there to help me or to figure it out, so that, like, I had the problem, but the solution was just smooth, instead of having to walk 20 miles with no water in the desert, and almost die, and then get your car fixed, all of a
Mhm.
sudden in the middle of nowhere, here comes somebody, stops and, hey, can I help you out? Boom. It was really, I think that whole trip was the thing about just learning to trust. And from that, if people, I won't give the long story again, but on a trip to Texas and back, I had 5 major car issues, that happened. And then just as they happened, a solution was right there. And it was just got to be so, I just felt so cared for, you know,
Mhm.
because, you know, um, I think being spiritual and everything like that doesn't mean you're not going to have problems. Sure, you're going to have problems like everybody else, but the solutions, the intuition you get on how to handle that problem are much,
Hmm.
much easier when you're in the zone, and that.
Exactly.
But,
Exactly.
we're talking about, we can't trust other people, Natasha, but maybe the bigger question is how can we be a person that people can trust?
Ooh.
When are we on that side where, we're not doing, we know that some people are looking at us and reacting to us like, you know, hmm, even if it's just you borrow $20 from somebody, and you trust your friend's going to pay you back. And it's not all about the money sometimes. It's just about,
The integrity.
the agreement was to have it
Hmm.
done. And when people don't do that, they don't mention it, stuff like that. That just drives friends, family apart. Oh my gosh. More than anything, So what a lot of people do nowadays that are spiritual, if someone wants to borrow money, they say, look, here's just $20, just take it.
Yeah, exactly. Take the politics out of it.
The energy that it is when you're thinking, hey, that person is out of integrity. They didn't pay me back when they're supposed to, and it's been 2 years. They've never mentioned it again. It's kind of a gut awful feeling sometimes because that person used you instead of being in integrity. I think
Hmm.
people listening now, they probably, could buy a home with the amount of money that they gave people and never got it back. That's just one example. But I think all of us want to feel that we're trustworthy, you know, but I would say that this spiritual work we're doing, if people want to step up, a way to become a person of integrity is to really take a good look at yourself, like do some shadow work, as we call it. Don't be afraid to kind of, in a sense, turn around and face your ugliness that you're carrying
Hmm.
with you. And then with love, take care of that. Uh, and your integrity will, increase. Um,
Yeah, it's that, and include love for self.
yeah,
It's
right.
love for others, it's love for self, because so many of us judge ourselves when we're in that moment. And I don't know how many different times that I've witnessed people, including myself, that, oh God, if I would have just trusted the process, I would have been already there. But instead I stopped myself and didn't trust the process.
Yeah, it's like, in the 12-step program, one of the biggest steps in there is to make amends for the wrongs that you've done with people,
Hmm.
and a lot of times people with alcohol and drugs, it's like, they've stolen money, they've, become totally untrustworthy, everything like that. And to go around, and I was in a relationship where a person was going through a 12-step program, and 2 years after the end of the relationship, I got a call, and she wanted to meet at a coffee house. And when we were there, she told me she's in a 12-step program and she'd always felt bad about two different issues, and even gave me a check at the time for, like, I was physically attacked, and my cell phone and my glasses were crunched before I called the police and stopped that. But it was just that a person actually was meds that were off, and as it turned out to be with bipolar kind of
Hmm.
thing, but a beautiful person. But I'll tell you, just the fact of sitting there, I didn't even want to take the money because I had completely forgot about it. But I wanted to be part of her healing process too, knowing that by doing that and me in kind, uh, thanking her,
Hmm.
and how
Hmm.
hard it was for her to do that. And then I think that kind of helped for her to, do get through the steps and actually become a better person. So, yeah.
It's part of that process. I know that, going to the somebody with addictions, I know for me that if I didn't trust the process and have faith in the greater picture and believe in the moment, I would not have the marriage I have today.
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of people, that if they do step into that trust and belief in the other person, and the faith that things will do better because that person has shown them, that there is something trustworthy in themselves, that many times that relationship can bloom bigger than we ever thought it could. It could, and that's the thing about life is that so many of us limit our relationships, our processes that we go through because of the lack of belief and trust that we can have in someone. Now, I'm not saying do this blindly.
Yeah.
Like when I was trying to trust my husband when he quit drinking, sometimes I had to trust that I would be okay. It didn't matter what happened out here.
Yeah.
I had to trust that I'd be okay, that no matter what happened, I would be able to find a place to live, to make the choices I had to make, to negotiate having children, older children, they could have managed a little bit more themselves, but at the same time it was going to affect them.
Yeah.
But I had to trust the process that no matter where we were, it was going to change. And how I would trust and have faith was that it had an opportunity to grow bigger than it was, bigger and better than it was.
Yeah.
And if I would have stopped and strangled it, I don't know if my husband would have gotten sober like he has.
Yeah.
And he even says himself that your love has made us who we are today.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know.
yeah. Sometimes we don't realize. It's funny how when we start the conversations and it segues into different things that seem to be important, but there's something beautiful if you want to, in other words, want to help somebody in some way. Um, just being a listener, sometimes just listening to someone who wants to tell you their problem or something, not trying to fix it or anything, but holding a safe space for them.
Mhm.
Like, in Natasha, you and I do that with our clients, and that, how it is, like, there's people tell us things they don't tell anybody else. I had a client a couple days ago, 84 years old, wonderful, beautiful, really sweet woman. And then, she said, you're the only one I've ever told this thing to,
Mhm.
and it was just to see her kind of, just something happened there, to just like a load off her shoulders, because we have this need to confess in a way, to tell somebody something. And that's why I think in the Catholic Church the confessional thing is just an amazing thing for letting people deal with their life, because we all mess up, and all of a sudden the priest says, okay, you're going to be forgiven from all this crap that you did in the last year, month, or whatever. All you have to do is say two Our Fathers, three Hail Marys, and Uncle
Mhm.
Glory Bees, or whatever it was when I was growing up Catholic. You know, and glory be to God, the Father, Son, the Holy Ghost, and something else I forget. But anyway, I remember even as a kid how wonderful that it was. Scary going in there and telling it, but boy, did it feel good when you came out and you were absolved of your bad actions, and you could say these things, and then it was almost like a whiteboard, and you just clean it off, and you just would feel like light again.
Mhm.
So people. I didn't. It took me till I was in my 60s probably to really appreciate that when used in the right way with the church was a good thing.
Mhm.
In other Christian churches, then they ask people to confess to your brother, somebody, in other words, somebody you're close to in the church, to have people that you can, trust to not blab your stuff and just listen to you, and that sort of.
Yes.
And Patty
Yeah.
had Patty is, as you know, is my significant other here.
Mhm.
She's supporting a young girl from Africa going through college, so that she to prevent her from having the genital mutilation done to her and given off to some farmer. Because when the girls are educated, they're worth something to the family because they can provide income, and just something, when you're educated, they won't, they won't do that sort of thing to you. But she called Connie from Africa in time and just unloaded some stuff, like, because she trusts Patty, and then she got Patty gave her some advice or whatever, and a few weeks later she said just like everything had changed in her life just because of Patty holding that space, and she was able to confess some things and about her fears and things she couldn't tell her family and everything. And it was, Patty was just like, all I did was just, give her a little advice and listen to her, you know, and it just, and this 18-year-old she said her life is just so good now just from that one call, you know.
Well, and that's the thing that I notice is that when I talk to somebody with care, and that a lot of times it's not them holding it, but it's them holding space, so then the universe can hear the prayer of the worry that just happened, and then they can take care of it. And I'm like, for me, I'm just the facilitator of the witnessing,
Yeah.
and Carolyn, thank you for chiming in here, Carolyn. I
Really.
know Carolyn, she's one of my clients, and
Uh,
a blessing that you're here with us today. Thank you. So she said sometimes people show over and over again that they cannot be trusted, and true,
yeah.
true, 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 so true about that. Because and speaking to someone, how many times have we spoken to someone and they blabbed it out? And I know for me that is something that I hold dear. I've had two friends that they d- we used to be a group, and then these two friends ended up having something that happened between them, and but yet I stayed friends with them, and they would talk to me about each one of them, but they knew, they go, Natasha, I don't have to worry.
Yeah.
And I proved it. But a
Yeah.
lot of people they aren't taught that.
Hmm.
They aren't taught that. And I know that my dad was a chiropractor. So, he had confidentiality with his clients, you know, and so he always taught me that balance was part of how you work your business. And doing when I used to do hair, I would have, roommates or husband and wife, or somebody would come in and go, they'd come in later and go, I didn't know that they had an appointment with you too on the same day. And I go, it wasn't for me to tell you.
Hmm.
I don't know if they wanted you to know or not, you know? And so, with that, but when we do cross those people, it doesn't mean that we have to be unfriendly with them. We just kind of do a little bit of a perspective. Do we dump on them? No, we ask them, I'm sorry, I can't talk to you more about it. I love you, yet
Hmm.
I can't trust. I can't trust. But that's that part of us that we need to trust ourselves, that, if we need to really talk to someone about something, I'm one that I need to discuss things to work through it a lot of times. And so with that as we go forward like that we're not always going to know if we can trust this person. And that's where I've told people, when they're practicing having a relationship, and they don't know if they can trust these people, that's where you tap in, you step in with a tippy toe and you mention something. And if they handle it well, then step in with two toes. And if they handle that well, step in with three
Yeah.
toes. And if they handle that well, step in with four toes. And if you step in with five toes and they didn't handle it well, you go back to four, or you say no, you
Mhm.
know? And or tell them the five toe thing, why was that something that I couldn't trust you with?
Yeah.
And it could be their personal story.
Well, that's what I think. I think trust is earned. You start
Mhm.
out, most of us want to give the benefit of the doubt most of the time to people. I think the older you get, the more streetwise you get, you're a little more cautious, like you're looking for the red flags immediately, about
Mhm.
trust and everything. And boy, when you can, like I say, when you can trust somebody, it's just really neat. And it feels good too. Like even with Patty, like when I say I'm going to be at somewhere at a certain time or be home at a certain time, I always make sure that I am, or text or something like that. And that just makes her just to be relaxed. So she knows if I say I'm going to be home at 6 o'clock, I'm going to be home right about 6, and
Mhm.
then they can plan everything else. Otherwise you mess everybody's schedules up when, you know, uh, there. And when I took that anger management thing 30 years, it's been 30 years ago now. Wow.
Wow.
And I did it for 3 years there every Thursday night for problems I had with anger. It completely turned me around when I finally was able to manage it, properly. But one of the things that's abusive that people do is, it seems funny, but if you have an appointment at 2 o'clock, to say that your friends are going to have a thing, it just said, well, people arrive at 2 o'clock. Most of the time they mean 2 o'clock. They don't want you to come at 1:30. because they're either not dressed or they're just running around everything. And when you go early, that's almost a sign of disrespect sometimes because, they told you to and you come early. So, people thought, well, wait a minute. They always just think it's about being late, but that's how they break it down. Even, you have to be very careful about that. Unless it's like your brother, sister, and you just come over, there's
Hmm.
sometimes when they don't care, just come over the day before. I don't care, thing.
Yeah.
But for most people, I know, even with my clients, I have them schedule and everything. I've got it down to the minute, getting everything done, ready. They're coming, and especially like you're doing like things on Zoom a lot with clients, and I mean that can really mess you up if they're early because you're just ready to do it at that particular time. If they're late, you're just sitting there waiting, and they're wasting your time. And
Hmm.
you know, um, and you have to think about it sometimes. Like if you tell somebody something, let's say you're going to be there 6 o'clock, and you just say, "Well, I'm running a little late. I'll just get. They'll know. I'll be there 20 minutes late, no problem." That's actually telling that other person that you're more valuable than they are. My time is more valuable. I'm going to do it on my time, and it makes people feel awful.
Hmm.
Parents do that to kids a lot sometimes. Oh, okay, 10 o'clock, we're going to Disneyland, get all ready and everything, and the parent wakes up and I'm just too tired today, we'll go to the later time. And the kid begins to not be able to trust their parents even, because the parents tell them something that's going to happen and then it doesn't. And then they grow up kind of not trusting people that way because
Hmm.
you know, they had parents that were not trustworthy.
Exactly. I know a lot of parents who, they said, "Oh, I'll be there this weekend," and then they didn't show up, and then that creates a story of mistrust. And going through life, I'm sad that people have a hard time trusting. But I tell you though that, like I said, step in with a toe and see if you can trust somebody.
Yeah.
And if and you do it with something that's valuable but not valuable. It's that little bit of vulnerability that we need to do, and then practice that and see where that goes, because it's not about jumping in with 2 feet with trust. It's sometimes it
Yeah.
is stepping just a little bit, and it's like a muscle a lot of times when we need to have that faith and trust and belief in our future and what's going to happen. So many of us come from families where that is a broken element, you know and so practicing it, like getting a stronger muscle, like lifting weights, you have to practice it a little by little to know that you can trust yourself, trusting other people.
Yeah.
It is a full circle. We have to trust ourselves to have faith. We have to trust ourselves to have, trust others. We have to, that belief system. It's amazing where we're going with life and what we're doing.
Yeah. They did a study in hypnotherapy college. They talked about a study that had been done, um, explaining, it was differences between introverts and extroverts and things like that. And introverts and extroverts, they saw generally respond differently to things. For instance, if a child grew up and the dad says, "Hey, we're going to Disney at 10 o'clock," and they get up and the dad says, "Oh, we're not going to go today," and that happens over and over again, then the the child learns to, when he hears other people say things in his mind, he says, "Okay, the person just told me something, so it might happen, it might not happen." It's just an inference. Like the person says, "Oh, maybe we'll go," kind of thing.
Hmm.
Extroverts, on the other hand, usually had parents that when they said something was going to happen, it happened. So they take things literally. You know, Even when it comes down to humor, sometimes a person who takes things literal won't get some of the jokes that have inferences. They'll take
Hmm.
it literal. They'll go, "What was so funny?" And everybody's laughing, and they didn't get what the inference was.
Yeah.
And the people that always had, well, maybe this or that, they it's really funny that way because you could tell a joke, and when someone just doesn't get it, and everybody laughs at them, like, "How could you not get that? Didn't you see the inference?" And they go, "No, I thought they meant literally that this was going to happen or something. So different things happen that actually make us more outgoing and you know uh, extrovert as compared to quiet and reserved, which is
Hmm.
more of the introvert thing. So
Hmm.
I thought that was an interesting study.
Yeah. But I have an observation though that a lot of people who do trust and believe and have faith, they believe in something greater than themselves.
Yeah.
And when we can believe in something, like for me, I trust that Mother Mary, Jesus, angels, my higher power, whoever that is, I call it the greater energy, that sometimes I'm not necessarily going to have the easiest road, but I'm trusting that I'm going to be okay through the process.
Yeah.
I'm trusting in the moment that I'm going to have faith that, that things, that I'm gonna have more of a cushion to lay on than I am, spikes and and sticks, that there's something that out there that when I trust in the moment of, let's say, needing to find a house because it wasn't going to work with my mom in the house I was in, and I had to have faith that we were going to find the perfect house, and then now this house has been with us for, let's see, my 24-year-old, so 25 years old now. For
Wow.
25 we've had this house, and I was walking up the stairs the other day because it's just now my husband and I said, so is it time to downsize? And I heard a definite no.
Yeah.
They said, you're using all your parts of your home. You need to use your home, and you are, and there's no reason to move, because I know that for us that this house is very well built, and
Yeah.
it's serving us well. It's serving us well, and we're trying to serve it well, and so, in order to get something low maintenance, we would end up having something just as maintenance in another way, so
Well, and let's for the last part of the show just talk about the most important thing, and that's that having faith and, as we started out the show, faith and trust in God. Faith and
mhm.
trust in God. Now, there's what we do when I have someone that goes to heaven and back, or when you have someone and you're communing with the angels or guides that are coming through you to tell them and help them and everything like that. When people really start to believe that, yeah, this is Natasha's just isn't just making this stuff up so she can buy more makeup or something. It's like this is the real thing. And when they start to believe that, then faith doesn't take as much of a big part, because you've kind of seen that, yeah, this is real.
Mhm.
So you still have faith, but it's not as, I guess, as deep as the faith of like a total like when people see you or me and all of a sudden they realize, yeah, there is an afterlife. There's people over there that can still communicate. They're just in a different dimension in a sense than here. They're not gone. Boom, boom, boom. It shifts everything so that when you start using your intuition, I think, like with me, I could step forward without so much in trepidation. I could say, okay, I'm just going forward now because I know something's going to happen, and everything. And I go, well, yeah, okay. I just find it easier,
Mhm.
when you connect, right?
Yeah,
And like
exactly.
people that have had you, and the more I've known you, Natasha, too, it's like, wow, like I was saying, there's a client of mine that I want you to help me with, maybe, that could really use a female perspective on some things and troubles. And I'm thinking that way, it's like having a mom and a dad helping a child rather than just one or the other, that way.
Yeah. I hear
Um,
you. Well,
yeah,
and that's the thing is that we have to, when we do trust and have faith and believe in something, that we have to take almost the perspective off of what we want it to be.
yeah. How do you mean that?
Well, in other words, like when I was trusting that I was going to get this house, that I had to trust that it was going to be what it was going to be. It was going to sneak up on me. I know it's coming. That that but I had to have, if it wasn't going to be this house, I knew that it was going to be a house that was going to work for us.
Yeah,
And I had to trust that process, that it wasn't going to be what I wanted. It was going to be what we needed,
yeah,
and what we were going to be able to process through and afford. Like when I was told I needed to buy a new car, and I was like going, uh yeah, well, I ended up getting this great deal for this car, and I've been driving it for 12 years,
Yeah.
and you know, and like I told the universe, I said, okay, guys, you gave me this car. I'm so grateful, but you're gonna have to help me pay for it, you
Yeah.
know, because it's like it's that process and it's trusting the process. Well, come to find out, I got some cash and was able to pay it off, and let it does happen. And it was amazing how when I put it out there, what I was asking for, I ended up getting something that I received. And that was that part of that trusting of the greater picture and having faith that I was going to be taken care of in the moment and moving forward. And, if you believe in what we would call God, believe in God. If you believe in the deities because I believe in Shiva and I believe in the energies of all these different applications of helpers,
Yeah.
that, you know, believe in what you can believe in that is greater than you to help move things forward and put out there in prayer. Speaking out loud to me is prayer. Speak out loud somewhere in a safe place that, I would like to have this and this and this happen. And then keep picturing that and see what you end up receiving. Because it may be, instead of a purple car, you might get a tan car. But
Yeah.
the purple car might be more noticed by the cops, and they knew that, so they gave you a tan car.
Right. Yeah.
And oh, by the way, please drive with your headlights on because you can't be really seen. But there again, you're not in the purple car getting more noticed.
Yeah. A friend of mine taught me, if you want to call it prayer, meditation, or manifesting, in a spiritual way. And he said, always end it with a sentence. You can say, okay, universe, whatever, this is what I think that I need. And I think I would really like this. But if you have any better ideas, if I'm not seeing everything here and there's something better for me, please have it show up that way.
Hmm.
Because sometimes you can be so bullheaded in what you think you want that when you get it and you go, what the heck was I thinking?
Yeah.
Because we're that powerful, to do that. On the other side, when I have people on the other side and we talk about manifesting and everything, it's more immediate over there because we don't have all of the fears and craziness that we do in the human body and consciousness. And that's why, like, when I have someone on the other side, like, if they want to go to a wisdom temple to learn more about music or something, and the guy says, yeah, I'll take you over here, and without even saying, immediately they're there. In other words, they just thought
Hmm.
it, wanted to go there, and it's immediate. They don't have to get in a car or get in a heavenly bus, to go somewhere for a long distance. It's just instantaneous that manifests. So, I mean, thank God that down here things don't manifest immediately, or there would be a lot of, because sometimes we think we want something, and then when we really find out all this stuff, we do the research, we go, oh no. But man, if people were manifesting instantly, it would be a nut house there, wouldn't it?
Wouldn't it? It'd be like genie, snap, snap,
Yeah.
snap, Or I know what it would be like. It would almost be like in Harry Potter when they're in when they go down in the caverns, on the tracks, and then they touch something and it multiplies,
Oh,
and then the room fills up. It's like, holy crap. Okay,
yeah.
so Sue, hi,
Oh,
Susan's
Susan,
here.
hey, Susan.
Yeah, so
One of our buddies.
I asked for this or something better that I might not be able to see.
Yeah,
Yes.
same idea. That's right, Susan. Yeah. Yeah, because how many times, like a lot of times our children will ask for something, but being adults and having more experience will say, oh, well, that would be nice. But you know what? I have even an idea you might even like even better. Than the kids go, oh, I didn't
Mhm.
even know about that, kind of thing. And that's kind of like what it is above there. They look at us and go, yeah, Regan, you might want to have this, but you know, you don't know what you don't know right now. And
Exactly.
by allowing them to fill in the I don't know part of what I don't know, you can get these really, manifest these really good things, just like my van that I'm still working on now, I mean, how that happened and manifested, which was a combination of me just having this inner feeling that
Mhm.
for some reason I should be doing this, and then starting, looking at everything and being proactive and doing my part. and then coming to a point where I didn't quite have everything. I mentioned it to you. You had a vision of like, and then the next day I checked that part like in Arizona that I hadn't checked, and there it was right there, and now $20,000 later, I'm still I'm doing it, but it's for some reason I don't know what it is, but it's like I just needed to have this empty shell, and I needed to learn how to do these things. And it's more than just physically doing it and wanting to have a van so we can go travel. There's something spiritual about it, I think. Like building something from the ground up in a way and having that
Mhm.
satisfaction, learning these skills, and I've really enjoyed it. Yeah, I've really, really enjoyed it. So I'll
And
have to.
that's the thing is that sometimes, that I was pulled to tell you about this van because the fact that you going through this process
Yeah,
brought you enjoyment that you didn't have. And if that was the key to having this, that maybe that was that
yeah,
bigger picture that the universe was hoping for you to get would be enjoyment in that way. Because a
yeah,
lot of us don't have enjoyment in our lives, and I know I've been working on bringing it in. So
yeah,
it's one of those things that, but whenever have faith and trust and surrender, you have to have surrender and acceptance.
yeah,
It's part of the whole game. You can't just blindly have faith and bind. You can do it, but at the same time, though, there's part of us that has to surrender to the greater picture.
yeah. Well, and yeah, it's funny. I just thought of something. If we're getting towards the end here, and again, I never want to ever put you on the spot or anything, but it has a little bit to do with what we're talking about. When I was led, by my inner guidance to go to Mexico and live for a little while, and all of the miracles that happened, I was down there. But a lot of people thought I was crazy. Says, "Oh, you can cartels are going to get you," and blah blah blah. But I just felt I needed to go there, and I mean that's in the year and a half I was there. I wrote 4 books. I'd always wanted to write a book, but it put me in a spot where there was nothing to do except hang out by the ocean and write,
And
write.
write a book.
Yeah. And it helped me to write, to know that that's something that I could do, but the man that was there was very dysfunctional. He just died about a month ago. And if I give you his name, I don't know if anything will even come or anything, or should we do that in private or something? Would
No,
that be?
we can do that.
Well,
Depends on
maybe
the conversation.
he was a very unusual uh, person. And just so people watching, just to kind of see if Natasha, sometimes she gets stuff, most of the time she does, sometimes not. But
Mhm.
his name, should I give you his name? Would that
His
help?
first name.
Okay.
Just
It-
because we're
right.
on.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Davar, Davar, a very unusual name.
Hmm.
Davar. Some people think it's, Dave and then initial R, but it's no, Davar, that way. And he went kicking and screaming, I think. But um,
Well, he was I'm going to use the word eccentric,
okay, you're on it. You got him.
and yet he was a he spent a lot of lifetimes as a monk, or up in the cave where he was by himself. He he's actually a divine master.
Wow.
So he really came into this world to figure out how to be human so that he can guide divinely better,
Wow.
is what I'm getting. He's right now in the process, I feel like, going through the application of integrating into being in the spirit body again. Some people who are very divine, who are angels, they spent time in humanness, and it takes them a little bit longer to cross over because they were so physical that their soul takes that moment where sometimes when we're walking that spiritual walk, we cross over quickly.
Yeah.
He struggled a little bit with that dance of humanness to spirit realm in this lifetime, I feel like.
Yeah.
He he died of an illness, of
Yeah.
cancer, or something in that category, right?
Answer. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, because of the fact that he could not leave on his own.
Yeah.
He needed something to kick him out of this world.
Yeah.
And part of his divine walk was to feel pain of
Yeah,
some
he
sort.
did.
And so in this lifetime, I feel like that he chose different incidences to create, and I mean this with love, because it's not like he went in trying to be a masochist, if that makes any sense.
To be a what?
But a masochist, somebody who likes pain.
Oh, yeah.
No,
Masochist.
but yeah, but he went in, okay, this scenario caused this pain. Now I know what that feels like. Okay, I went into this thing to get, and so his last hurrah was basically feeling that physical pain,
Yeah,
because the way that cancer brings you down into a very physical pain,
yeah,
um it brings you back in the body basically. And a lot of times when people have cancer, especially of the bone or something like that, they have a harder time leaving because it's so physical.
yeah. Yeah, he was one of a real character. I mean, very dysfunctional, but uh, you know,
I almost feel like if he wasn't on the spectrum, he was on a little bit on the spectrum
yeah,
for
probably so.
of hospital. And I've noticed that it's kind of like the line between us on the show, that people who are on the spectrum, sometimes if they're just tilted over, they become just a little bit where it's hard for them to interact with people on a day-to-day basis, like
Yeah,
you and I, or or they're very smart but yet they don't have the application how to maneuver in a lot of different places. And then the more on the spectrum they get, the more they struggle with that. But sometimes when people are just a titch over, you know, they're just that weird guy on the block, or the
yeah,
weird person on the block.
that
I don't
might
want to say guy or
explain it
girl. It's
because you
just,
either loved him or hated him, as some people did. Because
yeah, exactly,
he
because he
was,
was he.
yeah,
He was he, but he had a very much of an agenda coming down. I can see when he came into this world, he had this, and this, and this, and this, and he was going to accomplish it.
yeah. All right, all right, that's good. But
He's
boy,
doing well. He's very taken care of. He's got a certain group of energies that he of people of you know angel or light workers that he's working with to get him basically dehumanized, so he can be be
yeah,
the energy that he's meant to be.
okay. Yeah, I figured he'd be okay. He'd be just quite a character. Just an interesting time in my life. Um, so
Yeah,
good.
he was almost like your springboard to get into this life that you're going now.
Actually, yeah, because I stayed at his beach house for a year and a half, and it was to do therapy, exchange for therapy.
Hmm.
But he never really wanted therapy. He was too afraid of getting better because then you have to give up his disability. And so he was holding on to that,
I.e. pain. Hmm.
right? Didn't want to go back to work and everything. So finally, one day, I just was there. He knocked on my door one day and he says, "Time for you to get the hell out," you know. And 2 hours later, I was packed and on my way back to America. And and that led to me being at my mother's house to fix it up before she died, so she could sell it. And she went into hospice, and it was just the perfect time to leave. But
Yeah.
I trusted spirit that when that happened, there was something inside me. Like I was insulted for the first 5 minutes. It hurt my feelings because we were very close. We
Hmm.
become very close on that time, very good friends. And all of a sudden, just have someone just knock on your door, get the hell out. I was like, wow. But I just after maybe 10 minutes, I sat down and I just felt that something. I said, okay, cleaned everything up. I scrubbed the thing, and in 3 or 4 hours, maybe later, had my whole car. I couldn't have got one more thing in my car. Everything just fit in my car exactly. And I went and thanked him, and off I went. And I never have looked back, you know. But I was that a moment of trusting that God was sending me more where it was time for me to leave. You know,
Hmm.
it's just
And
time.
and actually, if he wouldn't have kicked you out, it would have been harder for you to leave because you were actually in a good place.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking about retiring down there, because you could right on the beach, you could get a nice place for, $500,
Hmm.
which is like 3,000 in LA or up here.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. So,
yeah,
but then you wouldn't have met the people that you have,
I
and
wouldn't be here
you're
right now
in.
talking to you, Natasha. I wouldn't be.
Exactly, exactly. And I don't want you out of my life right now. so I do hope that our examples and that kind of thing, that we did bring in a reason for hope and faith,
Yeah.
that we've all had something that we've struggled with, and coming into that hope and faith really, and that surrender and trust will bring you to a greater place
Yeah. And
if you're willing to walk there.
right. And again, we mentioned this a few times before, but the guides on the other side, or the what my clients get when they visit heaven and come back, if they have issues or something, sometimes they won't tell them, won't take the problems away, but they say, don't stand still.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's one tiny little step, they say, once you start, like, they can't really work with you unless you start moving forward.
Yep.
They want to see you that first step go, and then all of a sudden, this is when all the miracles can happen. Even if most of the time, sometimes you won't even get to the destination that you started out for, but you have to look at that as a starting point, and then as they're helping you and your intuition gets better, you just go a little this way and a little that way, and pretty soon it turns out better than you would imagine. So just trust. Was it you that talked about last week or something about unemployed angels?
I probably, yeah, because we
Nothing.
do have angels that sit there and go,
They're waiting.
okay, when is
They said, well, come on.
when is they gonna help
There's
them?
a lot of angels wanting to help up there, but they won't unless we act first, to say
Mhm.
we're ready, and that we believe that they're there. And once they are, just watch for miracles to start to happen. We
But we
see
have to
that
be
happen
observant of
over
it.
and over and over and over and over and over
Mhm.
again, and it
They'll
makes
come,
joy.
the miracles will come in animals telling us what to do, people in our lives,
Hmm.
billboards, songs on the radio at the moment where we needed it.
Hmm.
Those are the miracles that help us survive this moment. So believe in those moments that you get the right billboard, the right,
Yeah.
sticker in the car in front of you, or you walk into a store and somebody smiles at you because you needed a smile.
Yeah.
Trust the process that way, because it is going to be the little things. A lot of times the universe doesn't give us big things, it gives us little things,
Yeah.
and those little things add up to the big things.
Yeah, they do. Right. So just one step at a time.
Yep, one step at a time. Sometimes it's the of the toes that crawl us forward, but hey, as long as you're moving, it's part of life. And me being a crab, because I'm a Cancerian, double over that. Sometimes I have to go this way before I can go this way, which
Yeah.
means I have to go this way to go this way.
I can visualize that.
It's never a
Why don't
straight
they
line.
just go in a straight line?
Exactly. Unless I want to go sideways.
Yeah. Yeah. So people out
But
there
then it's a
listening,
sideways perspective, right?
yeah. What I want people to get out of this today I think is a big thing, is try to, in a sense, look at yourself in the mirror and ask yourself how trustworthy you are. We all want to be more that way, and just ask yourself, how can you be more trustworthy? And the main thing I say is just be real mindful of the words you say, and when you say something, and do it, and then you'll get people's trust. You know,
Mhm.
and you'll get better friendships. You'll feel better about yourself. Your children will look up to you more, and you'll teach them how to be trustworthy themselves. Worst thing you could do for your child is to be untrustworthy, because they're going to learn it from mom and dad.
Exactly.
That way. Yeah.
Exactly. And like I had a situation at work where I was on a wrong schedule, so I was called out being late. I wasn't late to the schedule that my old schedule was. I was late to the new schedule that, with my migraines and everything, I didn't get. It didn't register, and so I was 5 minutes late. So I got called out on that. I had to own up to that, and the words that I used to my bosses and my supervisor was, well, I hope my actions speak louder than my words,
Yeah.
because I do know that I won't be late, because I am not late. I just was on the wrong schedule. And there again is checking in with, I'm owning and doing it, but yet at the same time, though, my actions will speak louder than my words.
Yeah. It's what you do, not what you say. You know.
Exactly. So how can people get a hold of you, Regan?
Through visittheafterlife.com. There's phone numbers even on there. on my website. I have a lot of videos that are very good for you trying to learn that and see in action that this is possible in a deep state of relaxation or trance, as we call it, which most people can reach. It's
Hi,
very
Erica.
Hi, Erica. It's very easy to visit the afterlife, and if you're just like Natasha will tell you what she does, it's very easy. You give her a call and you tell her what your issue is. She can get you some help. That's not just from. It's in other words, it's not us so much. It's somewhat us because we've learned certain things, but it's mostly the guidance we get from the other side. So if you want to take a trip to the afterlife and back, spend a couple hours in heaven, it's kind of like I call it jokingly, it's a near-death experience without the death part. No, we invoke it a different way. It's about 90% effective. Could be done on Zoom or in person. I travel up to about 500 miles to see people, or they fly. I have some people coming from Chicago to California. So this week I have people coming from San Diego that are flying up, spending 3 days here. Two women that wanted. They both read Michael Newton's books about the afterlife, and one wants.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that one shared the book with the other, and then now they're talking all about this. So their spiritual life is just starting to blossom. So what a nice thing to share with a friend. So
Exactly.
there's
Exactly.
videos on my website that show a young lady going through the process of going to a past life and then going to heaven for a couple hours, coming back, and a lot of videos on there that just show the process. Still giving away my books on there. If you just ask for one on the contact page, I'll send you the free ebooks of my experience of spending hours in heaven and what it taught me. And also a book called Reincarnation is Real, which is about all the current research being done on reincarnation. So visit theafterlife.com. And Natasha, I guess they get a hold of you
Through angelicclarifications.com. I would love to support people with just knowing the reason why to be here, a reason to be here. And I've had a conversation with a couple of young ones that, like I've told them that if I would have been listening to that voice when I was 12 years old, 14 years old, about wanting to not be here anymore because of my life, that if I didn't hear that word, no, you're staying here, I know I wouldn't be here today supporting the people that I do and loving the people that I do. So with that you never know what your future is going to be. You never know what your future is going to be. There is a purpose why we're here, and finding it doesn't always necessarily work, but yet knowing that our interactions through the day are our purpose for being here.
Yeah.
So blessings to all. And please, Natasha Venter, Angelic Clarifications. We are here every Monday at 4:00 Pacific time. And then I'm going to be here on Wednesday. And I think I mentioned what I was going to talk about. I forget what I was going to talk about.
You're going to put it up on your website, right?
I will. So blessings to you, everyone, and see
We'll be here
you
next Monday at 4.
and on YouTube, Facebook, or on Wednesday, I'll be on Instagram also because of the fact that I will not have a guest. So blessings to everyone. Have a blessing of a moment.
The next time, thanks for sharing.
Yes, thank you. Bye now.